Welcome to the bold analysis, and thank you very much. I've had a good day today in spending better part of my day with a host of my friends who are also lovers of politics. Today, the deputy president was elevated to the presidency, and I followed bit of it, the proceedings of the inauguration. And something that I have to say is this, that the country is at a very critical moment. And apart from William Ruto's speech, there was a bit of political statements, the political moves, and the reality. So if you look at one thing, you'll realize is the president has really started at a high pace, which of course to me is to the expectations of the people. And the 3 billion added to the judiciary fund, independence of the police, appointment of the 6 judges that the president had refused to, and the subsidy on the reduction in the price of fertilizer, even though that fertilizer is rationed. So it's 1.4 million or something. It's some specific number of bags that will be sold at that amount. I think that can be sold for some few months' time. Yeah, it is bit to start. But I want to say two things. First is this. President William Ruto was given the sword, and it's a double-edged sword yenye inaweza mkata, anaweza jikata nayo, ama pia anaweza tumia kufieka, so that he creates a space for Kenya to move to the next space. That sword either inaweza mkata yeye mwenyewe Remember Rigathi is saying that treasury is dry, or pia hiyo he can choose to still kutengeneza njia for the best for Kenyans. It will, however, take magic, and it will take President William Samoei Ruto personally to protect outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta from one man, Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua is still bitter. He's still unhappy and carries the baggage of bitterness to Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency. Even though there is no difference between Rigathi Gachagua's speech and President William Ruto's speech, because it's just that William Ruto's speech was a bit of trying to be presidential. But you still see that they are still in the campaign mode. Some of those statements, dismissive, revisiting, confrontational, vengeful, they were still in the mood of the campaign. But I think with the time, they will have to shed off that. When the outgoing President President Uhuru Kenyatta came into office, I was a first-year student in 2013 in Masai Mara University, and I know that a good professor there, you'll find that wherever Uhuru will talk, Uhuru was very bitter and very angry, and angea kama anarusha mkono. And my good friend Chebunet told us that, of course, that will be managed with time. And so the president was managed. So I understand that even this new office bearers will have to be managed at some point in terms of communication. Now, I'm strongly persuaded that Rigathi Gachagua's bitter venom against President Uhuru Kenyatta, if it is not managed, will derail William Ruto's reign at the start. Even his first 1 year in office. If that is not managed, that will derail President William Ruto. And I want to explain for you why or how. While you can be very vindictive and have the sense of entitlement to attack, demean the president, but there are also people that bear sympathies with President Uhuru Kenyatta. And there is an unhappy team. There is another team that will be unhappy with Ruto's reign that will shift allegiance to the president by portraying their government as a revengeful. And of course, that's why it was also tactical for William Ruto to still give outgoing president some very international jobs. Of course, it was strategic to just elevate him kidogo so that he comes out of the local politics, stops playing the national politics and play the international league, maybe beat. But that is not going to work very well. Those attacks are not going to work very well for their administration because it lacks relevance since there is no political contest coming in future. And the people that will still remain in office and people still have that will still bearing political ambitions in this time round will use these vengeful attacks on outgoing president by Rigathi Gachagua team to craft what, according to me, would be character traits and create personality traits and statements on the character of Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto. Now, because these are not there, remember at the campaign, they were portrayed as people who are full of anger. And now that they have ascended to that office, there needs to be an element of humility. And again, it's very controversial because on one end, in the same event where you portray that this win is by God, this win is granted by God, and you show the humility and you drive the public empathy on your side. But on the other side, you spit a very bitter venom against a man that was just sitting next to you. Yes, people have argued that because the public outburst, the outburst was in public, so they needed to do that. But then I think their government is being touted as one that was installed in place by God. And there is nothing wrong with that. Maybe there is an element of truth to that. But at the same time, this is another show of arrogance and not really the values, the Christian values are not portrayed. I could see that when Rigathi Gachagua was speaking, our deputy president, I need to repeat that, our second lady was almost tearing down. She nearly broke down in tears. And that tells how that was deep. Now, there is something that this country must, and government, on how government operates. In the light of the situation and the state of the economy, of course, there are very tough decisions that government of the day must make. And some of those decisions will be unpopular. Good leaders make the right decision, whether it's against the people's will or not. But other leaders just make convenient decisions. Now, if you want to create that attack, there's going to be a backlash because you don't see that humility. As government, taxation is a very unpopular policy and administrative decisions are needed there. Very policy and administrative decisions are needed there. Very unpopular ones. But then if you can't bring the unity, then those decisions will make government unpopular. And because you've endured yourself as the person that was, of course, governor that was put by God, it's very difficult. I need to mention, and this country needs to be united, and the office of the presidency, where now Rigathi Gachagua is one of them, needs to show unity, and it's a symbol of national unity. President Uhuru Kenyatta was outgoing president and was the immediate office bearer of the office of presidency. When you antagonize the president, of course, he was also in campaign aligned towards Azimio la Umoja. You are antagonizing even Azimio la Umoja supporters. So to this extent, there needs to be the spirit of forgiveness and reconciliation, because that reconciliation seems to be underscored. What I can say is what the politicians have touted as a mature democracy. It can be understood and it's sugar-coated as mature democracy. But in real sense, there is just an element of forgiveness and reconciliation. The mood of the country is, at the end of the day, let our lives move on. We may not be comfortable with it. We don't want to go to the street. We don't want to protest. We want our lives to move on. That might have been seen by the politicians as democracy. And if you want to know that this is not the real thing on ground, is you just watch the next subsequent elections. If another rigging story will emerge, I can tell you that we might have touted it as democracy. There need to be the spirit of reconciliation, and that reconciliation will be underscored by the constant fights and the bitter venom that is towards the immediate former president. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my analysis on Rigathi Gachagua, and of course I'll be back with still updates touching on the D-Day.